Well, welcome to the third and final video for the Celtic sampler throw. I hope you are enjoying this process, and I hope we're still friends. These stitches can definitely be challenging. It is a learning curve, and just please keep that in mind. And I should have said in the very beginning, but as many people have heard me say before, mistakes are welcome and allowed when learning projects like this. It's okay. Well, in the third video, we're going to be revisiting the cable stitch, arrow, low front ridge, and cable stitch combination. And you're going to have to be referred to the first video should you need stitch support for that. But that will be in the video as we get started, as well as in the video description. The big new thing is learning the Saxon cable today. And we're going to also be revisiting the knurl, the low front ridge, and the ending ribbing, which is the same place where we started in video number 1. So a lot of review, a little bit of new. So I hope you enjoyed this with me. And just again, as a reminder, should you have additional questions or want to interact with other crafters on this project, there is a Facebook page set up for that. I do monitor it as much as I can. Please check for that in the video description below. And if you have any other questions, please post them there or contact me directly at my email, which is also in the video description. Well, let's go ahead and finish this project. I'm going to give you a large assignment of duplicating rows 38 through 53, and we're going to add that to what we just completed. So this will be rows 144 through 159. in the pattern. So what I'm going to have you do, rather than just reteaching all of this again, I'm going to refer you back to the place in the video. So if you look across the bottom of your screen, you'll see a time mark. And you can go back to that, and it is going to be done in exactly the same manner that we did back here on rows 38 through 53. And again, that'd be the low front ridge, the cable stitch, low front ridge, the arrow stitch, 2 rows of single crochet, low front ridge, cable stitch, and then low front ridge again. Okay? If you have any issues as to where you need to return to in the video after that point, just look in the video description and I will have those time marks for you so you can just refer back to what we've just done here with the wandering cable. So all of that I showed you will be now featured here after the wandering cable. Okay, this is what you should have after completing 159 rows. And again, this is the repeat that we worked on from earlier in the throw. All right, so now we are ready for a very fun cable called the Saxon cable. And we're going to start with a chain 2. Working in that first stitch, we're going to work a wattle stitch, skip 2, and another wattle stitch, okay. One other thing before we go any further, make sure you're using your larger eye or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook. You should have been using the smaller on that last row with those single crochets, but now we're back to the size I. Okay, so now we're going to work the foundation for the Saxon cable, and this is going to be the largest cable that we've done in this particular design. So we're going to skip the next 2 stitches, and we're going to work front post double in the next 3 stitches. We're going to be forming the columns just like we did with the wandering cables, but we're going to have more of them. So after those 3, we work a half double in the next stitch, and then we're going to do that again until we have a total of 6 columns, but I'll go ahead and crochet these with you for the first one. Okay, so we have 2 and then a half double, and let's do another one. and then another. Let's do that again. Okay, that makes 4. Let's do that half double after that 4th one. And the 5th, 3 more front post double crochets, and then a half double. And for the last one, we just work 3 front post double crochets, but we do not follow that with the half double. The half doubles are just worked in between, and I'll stop and show you that. So we have a total of 1, we have 3 front post double crochets, half double worked into the top loops, 3 front post, half double, 3 front post, half double, 3 front post, half double, 3 front post, double, half double, 3 front post. Could be a song there, a little rhythm. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of those, and like I said, do not work a half double after that last. Instead, we're going to work a wattle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet in that same space, and then we skip 2 stitches, 1, 2. And that's what's going to separate. Just one wattle stitch is going to separate each of these Saxon cables. So we skip 2, 1, 2, and then we do it all over again with the 3 front post double crochets, followed by the half double. We do that until we have 6 columns just like here, followed by a wattle stitch. So go ahead and work that all the way across. I will show you how this row ends. Now we're at the end of the row, and we're going to work a wattle stitch, single crochet, chain 1, double crochet, skip 2 stitches, and in that last stitch we work a single crochet. Now, if you're having a problem with shortage of stitches, you may have, I don't know, made a mistake or dropped some stitches or maybe added some stitches. Do be sure that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns in each of these sections. Okay, 6 columns separated by wattle stitches all the way across. It'd be easy to miscount and only do 5 or maybe do too many. So just take a quick visual and make sure we have that straight before we go forward. Before going on, just take note that we only have 1 wattle stitch at the end, and yes, there are 2 at the beginning, and that's just mathematically the way this particular stitch is going to work. Just know that you're doing it correctly if you have 2 at the beginning of this row, or the even number rows, and 1 at the end of the odd number rows. Now we're going to turn, go on to row 161 with the back side facing. You're probably familiar with what we're going to do already. We're going to chain 2. We're going to work that 1 wattle stitch at the beginning, and just to follow up with what I just said about the last row, at the end of this row you're going to have 2 wattle stitches. So you'll work 2 wattle stitches and then a single crochet in the chain 2 space at the end. So all we're going to do, I'll go ahead and do this with you. We're just going to work back post double crochets, building these columns again. In those 3 stitches, and then a half double in the half double. And we're going to just do that across. So we're going to do 3, I'll go ahead and pause, 3 back post double crochets, half double, 3 back post, half double, 3 back post, half double, and 3 back post, half double, 3 back post double crochets over these post stitches, and then a wattle stitch in the chain 1 space of the wattle stitch. So go ahead and work that all the way across for row 161. This is what you should have after completing up through row 161. Now for row 162, we're actually going to cross the center 2 columns. Now we need to find out which ones those are. They're actually the 3rd and the 4th. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the 2 that we're going to work a front cross on for this row. So let's go ahead and work our way to that place. I'm going to go ahead and do the chain 2. We have 2 wattle stitches at the beginning, and again we have 1 at the end, but we have just 2. We have 2 at the beginning that we need to do, and we're going to work front post double crochets over the first 2 columns. So just what we've been doing, just growing these columns, half double, worked into that half double, and then we're going to do this again. 3 front post double crochets, and then a half double worked into the half double. Let me pause so that you can see what I've done. Okay, now we are going to cross these 2 columns with a front cross, just the way we've been working the front crosses. Skip 3 stitches, half double, that next half double, front post treble crochet in the next 3 stitches, okay, so you can see that working in front of those 4 stitches, we front post treble here, here, and here. That's the 2nd and the 3rd. Then we're going to half double in that next half double. And we're just going to work front post double crochets in the next 3 stitches. And just for clarity, we only work the trebles when we're actually crossing the columns. Okay, mostly everything else you can safely say is either going to be a front post double crochet or a back post double crochet when working with these columns and cables. So 3 more front post double crochets, just like so, and then we're going to work a wattle stitch, and this is what's going to separate these very large cables. Okay, so this is what we're going to do all the way across for row 162. So go ahead and complete that row, and when you complete that, I want you to turn, and we're going to be working the back side. We're just going to work back post double crochets over those post stitches, and of course half doubles in the half doubles. When you get to the cross cable, it's going to be 3 back post double crochets, a half double worked in between that last stitch and next stitch, which is right here, the center of where the columns cross, 3 more back post double crochets, skip this half double here, back post in these 3 stitches, half double, 3 back post, and then wattle stitch, and a single crochet in the turning chain. So go ahead and finish row 162 and row 163. So this is what you should have after completing row 163. All right, so let me go ahead and tell you what we're going to do for row 164. Okay, for row 164, we're going to continue to grow this column and this column. These are the 2 columns on the outside. Now the 2nd and 3rd column, the 3rd column is hidden under here a little bit. We're going to cross these 2 with a back cross like we did way back on the wheat stitch. And then we're going to cross the 4th and the 5th columns with a back cross as well. And again, like I said, this will just continue to grow, these columns on the outside. Let's go ahead and get to it. So again, chain 2, we're going to work those 2 wattle stitches. It's been a while since we've worked a back cross. So first of all, we're going to work those 3 front post double crochets. Remember, again, I know I'm repeating myself, but that's what teachers do. When you're not crossing these columns, we're just going to work either a front post double crochet or a back post. It's only when we're crossing the columns to form a cable that we actually work front post treble crochets. Okay, I just finished working a half double in that spot. So now we're going to do a back cross with this column and this column that was just crossed 2 rows ago. Skip 3 stitches, half double, in that next half double, front post treble in the next 3 stitches, okay. Now working behind, hence a back cross, working behind those last 4 stitches. This is where we come into the opening from the back end, and we work front post trebles here, here, and here. So let's take that first one, and like I've told you before, using the nerve endings in your fingers and your thumb there, they will help you to hold on to that stitch so that you'll know and get confirmation as to what you're doing. So it's the next stitch right here. Just to show you, I'm working around that stitch. I know, not the easiest thing, but once your muscle memory learns it, it's like playing the piano or guitar or walking for that matter. The muscle memory will eventually kick in. I've seen 2 young children learn to walk recently, and I understand it's hard at first, but once you master it, you can't get them to stop it. All right, so this is what it looks like after completing those 3 stitches. You can't see the stitches, but they are right back there. Half double in that next half double, and then we're going to work another back cross with the 4th and the 5th column. Go ahead and skip the next 3 stitches, half double in that half double, front post treble in the next 3 stitches, working behind those last 4 stitches. We're going to come into this opening and front post treble here, here, and then here. So that's the first one. Let's make sure we go through 2 stitches, or 2 loops, 2 loops, 2 loops. And for the next stitch. And I do have some other videos in the video description if you're looking for how to do some of these front and back cross stitches. And there's the 3rd stitch. After that, we work a half double crochet, and that's followed up with 3 front post double crochets. Let me move this over here a little bit. And then a wattle stitch at the end, or after that cable. And so this is what you should have. So go ahead and work this all the way across. This is what you should have after completing row 164. Okay, do be sure after you work any row where you cross cables, go back and check each set to make sure that you cross them in the correct way. And the columns here should be leaning in this direction. Okay, it's very easy to accidentally get back into doing front crosses instead of back crosses for this row. And just do a very quick visual check now so you don't have to rip anything out and have to redo. All right, so now for row 165, we're going to turn to have the back side facing. And this should be pretty straightforward, but I wanted to go ahead and demonstrate it for you anyway. So we chain 2, work that wattle stitch. This is the easy part. Hopefully the rest won't be too bad either. All right, so get my yarn out of the way. Now we're going to work back post double crochets, just like we did 2 rows earlier. So 3 back post. I'm flipping it back here so you can see where I am placing this stitch. Half double and the next half double. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky when working the next section. So back post double crochet over the next 3 stitches. Okay, and then we're going to half double in between that last stitch and next stitch, which is the center of the cable, and then the next 3 are back here. So we work these 3 back post double crochets, and then again there is a half double that we're skipping that you don't see, but then we're going to half double in that next half double, which is in between, should be about the center of this entire Saxon cable. It's after the third grouping, or third column, I should say. Now we're going to work 3 more back post double crochets, and again a half double in between that last stitch and next stitch, and then don't forget there are 3 more. They're way back here. So we're working back post double crochets over these as well. After that, half double in that next half double, and then again 3 more back post double crochets. And then we get to that wattle stitch. Working that chain 1 space, and then we do it all over again. So let's go ahead. This is what it looks like from the back side. Now the front side, of course, it looks much nicer. Okay, so go ahead and work this all the way across. This is what you should have after completing row 165. All right, so now for row 166, we are going to have 3 front crosses. We're going to cross these 2 columns, this column that's hiding behind this other stitch here, this column, and this column will cross, and this one that's a little bit hidden, and this column will cross. And I'm going to work this with you so there's no doubt as to what you're going to be doing. And these are, again, all front crosses, so that makes it a little bit easier this time. So chain 2, and we work those 2 wattle stitches. Get some more yarn from my yarn supply. Okay, so we've gotten those 2 wattle stitches. Now let's go ahead and start crossing these cables. Skip the next 3 stitches. These are those post stitches. Half double in the next half double. Front post treble in the next 3 stitches, just so that you see clearly what I'm doing here. Working in front of those last 4 stitches, there's the 3 front post trebles and that half double. We come way over here and we work front post trebles in the 3 stitches that we just skipped. So that's 1, and here's 2, and here's number 3. Half double in that next half double. And you may have to look for these. Now we're going to skip the next 3 stitches, which are playing hide and seek behind this other column. 1, 2, 3, half double, and that next half double, front post treble in the next 3 stitches, working in front of those last 4 stitches. We're going to front post treble in the 3 stitches that we skipped, and again these are hidden a little bit. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I think this is where the videos come in most helpful, is just knowing where to put your hook. That's really what makes some of these stitches different than others. It's just, where do you put that crochet hook? All right, now we look for the half double, which is right here. Let's pause and take a look at what we've done so far. Okay, and now we're going to, let me wrap it one time, skip the next 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and half double in that next half double, and front post treble in the next 3 stitches. Working in front of those last 4 stitches, we're going to front post treble in these 3 that we skipped. Again, they're hiding behind this column, so you're going to have to look for these. This is what gives it the beauty of being woven. And there's the 3rd. And let's go ahead and work a wattle stitch in that chain 1 space, and then we're going to take a look at what we've just done. Okay, so this is where we are. Okay, so what I'm going to have you do is just work this all the way across. Again, those 3 front crosses you're going to have there, incorporating all 6 of these columns. Okay, that's row 166. Now for row 167, we're going to be working with the back side facing, and just be sure as you work, of course you work the wattle stitches in the same way, half doubles, whatnot. We're going to have 3 back post, half double where those columns cross, 3 more back post double crochets, skip this half double, and the half double that you work are the ones that are in between the crosses, and then again 3 more. Don't forget that half double, and then 3 more back post doubles. Skip this stitch, half double here, back post on those 3 stitches, half double in between, and then 3 more back post double crochets. Skip this stitch, wattle stitch, and a single crochet at the end of the row. So go ahead and work row 166 and row 167. So this is what you should have after completing 167 rows. For row 168, it's actually going to be the same as 164 that we worked right down here. So I'm going to explain that real quickly. You have chain 2, and those 2 wattle stitches. This column and this column, the first and the last, are going to be just working front post double crochets over those. Okay, half doubles where the half doubles go. This column and this column will work a back cross. This column will be on top after you do that. So the cables, after you cross them, let me go ahead and explain this one first, and the same with this second one. You're going to cross these 2 columns in a back cross. This column will be on top. So both of these, after you cross them, will be going in this direction and should look exactly like row 164. After that, you're going to have the back side facing, and go ahead and work those back post double crochets. It's just like row 165, so go ahead and make sure that you work those half doubles in between that last stitch and next stitch where those columns cross. So go ahead and work rows 168 and 169. And if you need stitch support, look across the bottom of the screen. You can take a look back at row 164, and I'll put a time mark where you can look at that if you need that. This is what you should have after completing row 169. Now for row 170, I'm going to go ahead and work this with you. It's actually a repeat of row 162, but it does look a little bit different because we're working this from existing cables that have been crossed. Okay, so first we work the chain 2 and those 2 wattle stitches. Okay, let me explain what I'm going to do before I do it. We're going to just continue with front post double crochets here. And of course the half doubles where they belong, but just front post, these 2, the 3rd and the 4th columns, are going to cross with a front cross, and then this cable or column rather, and this column we're just going to add front post double crochet. So let me do this with you. So front post double crochets in those first 3 front post, and then a half double, and then we're going to do that again, 3 front post double crochets on the 2nd column, and then a half double in that next half double, working in the top loops. Now these 2 columns, the one that's hiding and this one, are going to cross with a front cross. Skip the next 3 stitches, half double in that half double, front post treble in the next 3 stitches, working in front of those last 4 stitches. We're going to front post treble here, here, and here. These are the stitches, post stitches that are hiding there. 1 and 2 and the 3rd one. Make sure you don't get confused with that half double there. All right, and then now we're looking for the next half double, which is here, and the rest are going to be front post double crochet. So front post double in the next 3 stitches, half double in the next half double, and then 3 more front post double crochets. And let's go ahead and work that wattle stitch, and then we're going to take a good look at what we've done. Okay, so now you can see this better, how these columns, these 4 columns, just are continuing to grow with those front post doubles, and the 2 center were crossed with the front cross. So this is what you're going to do for row 170. Now for row 171, again, we're just going to have the back side facing, and we're going to work back post double crochets, half double, back post doubles, half double, and then where the 2 columns were crossed, 3 back post double crochets, half double in between the last stitch and next stitch where these columns cross, and then 3 more back post, and then skipping this half double, and then this is the half double we use, 3 back post, half double, 3 back post right there, and then again wattle stitches as usual. All right, so go ahead and work rows 170 and 171. This is what you should have after completing 171 rows. This is beautiful the way it's woven in and so forth. Well, now the next 4 rows are going to be very straightforward. For row 172, we're just going to work front post double crochets over all of the post stitches, and of course the half doubles where they belong, and the wattle stitches as well. row 173, we'll have the back side facing, and we're just going to work back post double crochets over the post stitches. And again, rows 174 is going to be front post double crochets again, and row 175 is going to be back post double crochets. So basically during these next 4 rows, we're just growing all of these columns. All 6 of them are just going to grow, and what we're doing is we're elongating this little central cable part of the Saxon cable. So go ahead and work those 4 rows. That would be, again, rows 172 through 175. So this is what your Saxon cable should be looking like after completing 175 rows. So you see how all of these columns have been elongated. Okay, now for rows 176 and 177, we're going to repeat rows 162 and 163, which is when we started down here and we just crossed the 1 cable, which is going to be crossed up here. So in other words, we're just going to continue with front post double crochets in the 1st, the 2nd, the 5th, and the 6th columns, but the 3rd and the 4th right here, this is going to cross with a front cross, just like we did down here. So go ahead and work the front cross when you get to this section. And again, everything else is just going to be front post double crochets, and of course the half doubles in the appropriate place, as well as the wattle stitches. Now for row 177, we'll have the back side facing. You're just going to be working back post double crochets across. Now when you get to the center where those 2 columns were crossed, don't forget to work that half double crochet where the columns cross. All right, so go ahead and work rows 176 and 177. This is what you should have after completing 177 rows. And this was the last 2 columns that we crossed 2 rows ago back on 176. Now for rows 178 and 179, we're going to cover this. For row 178, the 2 outer columns, this one and this one, will still continue to grow up, just working front post double crochets here and here. But now in the center 2 cables, this would be column number 2 and column number 3 coming out here. We're going to cross these 2 in a back cross, and the 4th and 5th columns will also cross in a back cross, and it will look very much like what we did back here on rows 164, 165. Also the same here and here. So where we work those 2 back crosses, we're going to do that here and here for row 178. For row 179, it'll have the back side facing. We're just going to work those back post double crochets across, and don't forget where the 2 cables cross, make sure that you work that half double in the center in between that last stitch and the next stitch. And again, wattle stitches, half doubles, that is all as usual. So go ahead and work rows 178 and 179. This is what you should have after completing 179 rows with this Saxon cable. Now for rows 180 and 181, we're going to work the same rows that we did here, where we crossed 3 cables using all 6 of the columns, and that would be rows 166 and 167. So we're basically going to repeat that up here, and let me explain it. And again, if you need stitch support for how to do this, look at the bottom of the screen, and I'll put a time mark where rows 166 and 167 are, so you can review that. After the chain 2 and a wattle stitches, we're going to cross these 2 columns in a front cross, this column and this column, that's a bit hidden. This column, they get crossed in a front cross, and this column and this column gets crossed in a front cross. And of course, then you have the wattle stitches. For row 181, we're just going to have the back side facing, and we're just going to work back post double crochets across, and each time you do that, you're going to have to work a half double in between the last stitch and the next stitch, which is where the two, where the two columns are going to cross. So you're going to have to do that 3 times on row 181. So go ahead and complete those 2 rows. This is our Saxon cable after 181 rows. Let's give you a good view of that. So now we have another couple of repeat rows. For rows 182 and 183, we're going to repeat rows 164 and 165 again, which again are where we cross these columns here. I'll go ahead and explain it up here with 2 back crosses. So what we're going to do is we're going to work front post double crochets here. This column and this column will cross with a back cross. This column and this column that's hiding here will also cross with a back cross, and this column will just continue to elongate. All right, so go ahead and work that, and then for row 183, we'll just turn to work back post double crochets across. Just remember that where the cables were crossed, or the columns were crossed rather, that you work that half double crochet in between the last stitch and the next stitch, which is in the center of the cable or the columns crossing. All right, so go ahead and work rows 182 and 183. This is what you should have as far as the Saxon cable goes at the end of row 183. Let's just take a look at the top of that. Okay, so we had those 2 back crosses. Now for rows 184 and 185, we're just going to continue this, and what we're going to do is work just front post double crochets, of course half doubles where the half doubles go, front post double crochets here. These 2, this is the 3rd and the 4th columns, will cross with a front cross, and this will be the last crossing that we do for this motif. And then after that, we work front post double crochets on the 5th and on the 6th columns, again with those half doubles in between. So it is very much the same as what you did here, and what you did here, and what you did down here. So that is repeating rows 162 and 163. So after you do that, we're going to turn with the back side facing us, and we're just going to work back post double crochets over the post stitches, of course half doubles where the half doubles belong. Don't forget that half double in between where those 2 columns cross. Make sure that you add that half double in between that last stitch and next stitch where those 2 columns cross. All right, so go ahead and work rows 184 and 185. So this is what you should have after completing row 185. Let's take a good look at this Saxon cable. I hope you enjoyed doing this as much as I did. I just love just the intertwined texture of it. Now for row 186, this is going to be another relatively easy row. We're just going to work front post double crochets across all of the post stitches, and of course half doubles where the half doubles go, and the wattle stitches as well. So go ahead and work row 186. This is what you should have after completing row 186, and we're particularly interested in just the front post double crochets that were worked across. Now for row 187, we're going to have the back side facing, and just for the record, we are in the home stretch, y'all. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to skip that first stitch, and this is where we eliminate the wattle stitches. So we're going to work only in that chain 1 space at the beginning. We're going to work 2 double crochets in that chain 1 space, and then 1 in the single crochet of the wattle stitch. Now you're going to do this in all of the wattle stitches as you work across. You're just going to work back post double crochets over the post stitches, and of course half doubles where the half doubles belong as you work across the rest of this. When you get to the end, you are going to have 2 wattle stitches, so that would mean 6 double crochets, and do not work in the turning chain. Okay, so go ahead and work row 187. All right, this is what you should have after completing row 187, and we're focused again on the Saxon cable. All right, and do be sure that you worked double crochets in the wattle stitch. Each wattle stitch should have yielded 3 double crochets. All right, so now I am actually going to send you all the way back near the beginning of this project. For rows 188 through 197, let me go ahead and show you what you're going to do. I'm going to bring the beginning part of this back to look at, and we're going to work this section again. That's with the low front ridge, even though we're looking at it upside down here. The low front ridge, we're going to have 2 rows of that, and then we're going to have a row of single crochet. Then we work the knurl stitches. We do that 2 times, and then following that with another row of single crochet, and then low front ridge, and then a row of single crochet, which again is low front ridge row 2. But anyway, so we're going to redo this section at the other end so that this throw is symmetrical. Okay, so, and if you need stitch support for this, go ahead and look at the bottom of the screen, and you're going to need to go back substantially to the beginning. I'll have that time mark there for you. All right, so go ahead and work those 10 rows. Rows 10 through 19 are the original numbers, but in this particular project, just to repeat, this will be for rows 188 to 197. One other thing I wanted to remind you as you work these rows, don't forget to change when necessary back to the smaller crochet hook. So we're pretty much going to use the smaller crochet hook on the rows of single crochet, the knurl stitches. The only time that you're going to use the larger I or 9 crochet hook is going to be when you're working those slip stitches in the front loops only for the low front ridge. Okay, just don't forget to change the hooks where appropriate, and that is mentioned in the video if you seek the video support. This is what you should have after completing through rows 197. And again, this is the part that we repeated from the earlier part of the pattern. All right, so now I'm going to send you back to even further in the video. And this is going to be for rows 198 to 206. And we're going all the way back, and we're going to repeat rows 2 through 9. And let me show you what that will look like. So starting with row 198, we're going to begin the row where we actually cross the cable. And if you go back to row 2, I'll put a little time mark across the bottom of the screen there. You can go back and watch that. And again, starting with row number 2, because we already have a foundation that you're going to be working in. It's going to be single crochet instead of double crochets, but it is going to be worked in the same way. Also, don't forget to switch back to the size I or 9 or 5.50 millimeter crochet hook, or the larger of the 2 hooks that you are using. So go ahead and work those additional 8 rows. After that, you're going to finish off or fasten off at the end of row 206. Okay, after that, I have some trim that I will show you how to do that will help give the sides of the throw more integrity. This is what you should have after finishing row 206. Now we do have a tiny bit of work left to do. And I think this is probably not the most important, but it's up there. It's kind of important. And that is finishing well We do have a lot of strands to hide, so be sure that you hide them carefully within your work using your yarn needle. This is very, very important, and of course hide them on the back side. The other thing that I'm going to encourage you to do is to add a finishing touch along the side, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Let me go ahead and show you what it looks like and what I'm going to instruct you to do. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to crochet evenly in single crochets along the edge. This is going to help to give this blanket with, as you know, many different stitches here. We've done our best to try to make sure that the width is somewhat consistent, but this is going to help give it a finishing touch. And we're going to work single crochets just evenly all the way across. I am not even going to specify a number for you. I may do that in the written pattern, but honestly, the number is not so important as the fact that you crochet evenly along the edges. Okay, and so that's row 1, and then row 2 is working a slip stitch evenly back, that would be with the back side facing, along the edge. And with these 2 stitches, or these 2 rows worked, it's going to give these sides that tend to be very stretchy without any additional support. It's kind of like giving it a foundation, and it's going to add integrity and stability to these sections so they don't stretch beyond too far beyond their side. And of course, with the weight of this blanket and with the number of balls of yarn that were used, it's just normal for things to stretch out just from the sheer weight of it. So this will help with that as well. So let me go ahead and show you how to do this. So before I even start this side, I'm going to go ahead and hide the loose end. Now, when you start the single crochet row, make sure that you have the front side facing each time. I'm going to go ahead and hide this particular loose strand under here. I'm running it under the stitches, and that's not all. I'm going to actually run it up into some of these stitches a different direction. Okay. You can just see how much easier it is when you have a yarn needle doing this. And then I'm going to come back the other direction. Again, I'm doing the hiding of the loose ends on the back side. Get my sharp scissors, get close but not too close. Don't want to cut the stitches. And you see that is well hidden. Okay, so now I used my size I or 9, but feel free to use whichever size hook you think is going to give you the better finished edge. Okay, so let's go ahead with our slip knot. Let's go ahead and give it a chain and single crochet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work single crochets evenly along the edge. Just like this. Okay, so let's pause here. So you want it to be in such a way that they are even. You don't want it to be, forming, you don't want them too close together so that they look bunched up, and you also don't want it so tight that it's pulling on the stitches. So go ahead and you're just going to work evenly. You're going to have to, be a little judicious in how you do this. You may have to, spread them out a little bit. Make sure that You know, even these sections don't look too spread apart, but you also don't want them too bunched up, because then that will create kind of a wavy look, and you don't want that. So let me go ahead and show you, for example. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and work that all the way across the side to the end. And then after that, I'm going to just give you a shortcut. Once we get to the end, we work to that last stitch, and then we're going to turn, chain 1, and starting in that next stitch, we're just going to work under both loops and do a slip stitch, just like that. And make sure that when you work the slip stitch that you don't do this too tightly. If you need to bump up to the next size hook so that they're not too tight, feel free to do that. But what you're doing here is you're just giving this, like I said, integrity. Let me show you what I mean by that. When you pull on this, it's a little bit, but when you pull on this, it just kind of limits how much this can stretch when you add that slip stitch. So go ahead and work those 2 finishing rows. Work it on one side, and then what you're going to do is flip the blanket around and start on the other corner opposite this. Make sure that you have the front side facing so that you see the front side of the single crochet. I just think that has a better finished look than this side does. All right. I hope you have enjoyed making the Celtic sampler throw with me today. If you did, I would love to hear from you. I would love to see your photos. If you want to send them, you can share them freely on the Facebook page, or always send them directly to me at my email, which is bonniebay@me.com. It's also in the video description below. Again, thank you all for staying with me for so long on this. I hope you learned some new stitches. I hope you're going to learn to love these stitches as much as I do. And as always, may God bless. Bye-bye.